Take a moment to connect with a little intention for our class. The idea that I'm thinking of for today is very much inspired by the nature that we see around us. This week especially is one of those weeks where we're going to start seeing some changes because suddenly the temperature is going to drop quite a bit more than it has been recently. And so that creates some changes. First of all, that's a complete stop to the growing season. So the first word I want us to think about today is abundance and harvest. What is it that we're harvesting into ourselves? Maybe these are seeds that we planted a long time ago when we're realizing, wow, I can actually kind of collect the fruit now. And maybe it's more like a wish for the future. In the future, I hope to be able to harvest this idea. So that's our first half of our concept today. Another inspiration of this season, when we get to kind of like the first frost, is the inspiration of release. The trees can no longer hold on to the leaves when we start getting to this freezing point. And so you'll start to see around us the leaves turning colors and starting to release them. So also have that idea in the back of your mind, that idea that what is it that I'm working on releasing at this moment? And so we're going to do different things at different points in our class. Sometimes we'll be pausing and taking this breath that I'll call the harvest breath, where we gather things, we imagine gathering things to our heart, whatever the word is that we're choosing for our abundance. And there'll be other moments, like a child pose, where we're taking a forward fold. And in those moments, think of that like a moment of release. And so in that way, we get to kind of balance out our body, both gathering the abundance to us and also releasing the things that we no longer need. So that's our inspiration that will lead us into our class today. So with that, let's begin to take some of our beginning stretches for our body. So let's begin to take the arms all the way to the back wall. Start to let the shoulders wiggle all the way to the right. Shoulders all the way to the left. If you're a first row person, just kind of watch out for toes. But take a couple of these cycles to help open up shoulders, open up the side ribs, feel good stretches happening in our system. Good, maybe one more breath to each side. Beautiful. Returning back through the center. Take your right knee into the chest. Hands can hug around that knee, trying to pull it in tight. And with that knee coming in, maybe take a few right foot circles, a couple clockwise, a couple counterclockwise, getting some tightness out of the foot. This is a moment kind of like a child pose when that leg is being invited in. So let yourself think of that word or even just a spontaneous word that comes up in your mind right now of something you'd like to release. Another breath here. And then straighten the leg up to the sky. Hamstring stretch, grab onto the back side of the leg, pull it in. Good, and before we switch sides, we're gonna take one last thing here. It's a hip opener. Your right foot hooks to the back left side of your fabric. That part at the end, kind of by your ears, if you're gonna use it, I'll kick around at others. That right foot to clear to that back left. When you've got it hooked, slide the shin. A few breaths here. Take one last inhale for this hip. A nice last exhale. Bring out this leg, drop it all the way down. Second side, knee into chest, left side. Give it the hug, a couple of ankle rolls. I just love taking these stretches right at the beginning. Helping the body to open up. Good. When you're ready to straighten leg up to sky, let's move to the hamstring. Let's feel that good stretch up. Another breath here. And let's hook that heel over. This time it's left foot to back right. You've got the foot hooked, slide the shin in. Send some good deep breaths. Take another good inhale. Nice exhale. Free this foot out. Let's drop it all the way down. Sitting up, we're gonna head to our first vampire. My hope, depending on how we do with this first one, is to take a few vampire variations today. So if you are very familiar with vampire, you wanna just go into it, go right ahead. For those that need a little refresher, with vampire, it's like a shoulder stand. So we need the fabric to be a complete covering safely over shoulders. So I take this part that's behind me and I cover through my shoulders. It's like a cap sleeve. I don't want too much excess though, because otherwise it pushes against my neck. My elbows are like chicken wings to help push the excess down into my waist. So when I lay back, I need to get that excess down to my feet. So I have to lift my hips up, straighten the legs out. That shifts it down to the feet. So then, and don't worry, I can repeat the steps again if you're watching, but last steps, the hands come up high, grabbing left and right sides. My feet come up, pushing out to the fabric that's right above my hands. And then I rise upside down here. Good. So if I see anybody struggling, don't worry, I'll be by in just a moment. If it's uncomfortable, it probably means you have a little bit too much fabric around your neck, so you can come down and shift some more of that. So just everything else goes to your waist. Then lift up your hips. You lift up your hips. Yep, you got it. One time. Get all this. So note that you don't have to be upside down as long as anybody else in inversion. So if you need to come back down, just lay down, get your head back in and rest. But you've got plenty of time here. So keep on enjoying. Get a couple more. Okay, left and right. Move your hand. Oh. Keep them up. Hands up. And breathe in. Now, lift it. Break it up. Very good.
You a huge
No. Push into the fabric, see how much you can do. At first, sometimes it's just a 4 empty side. Up and down a little bit. Yeah, just like that. Push into it to that. So those that are still upside down, don't pressure, no pressure, you're doing awesome. Those that are coming up, you're either in the Shavasana still, or you can come up to a floating child pose. We sit, we hook the elbows on the back, and we lean forward. Either way, whenever you're in your resting pose, whether that's that Shavasana or this floating child, when you get to that point, we're bringing to mind our idea of release, whatever that word is that we chose to. If you're out, you can start to take a couple of easy little circles for the head, letting the head rock to the right, letting the head rock to the left. And if you're still upside down, go ahead and head out. Taking just a few more bonus breaths right here. Good. So sitting up. So I'd like us to do another vampire variation before we're completely headed out, but our head needs a little bit of time not being upside down. So we're gonna do a couple of nice little stretches to open up our body. So with this stretch, the idea is taking on our first idea of that harvest breath that I promised you. So start off with your arms forward. When you take a huge inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, just open up to the sides. Inhale, sweep the arms back up. Exhale, go forward. This is helping to warm up our shoulders. Imagine it's also like we're gathering up like a hug, some stuff around us that we're harvesting into us. So inhale, another 3 to go forward. 3 to go back. Keep the breath flowing. 2. 2. 1. 1. Good. Scooting the fabric up to the armpits, lay back, and then use the hands clasped behind the head to support the head. Similar to the first half, what we were just doing with our arms, we're also going to warm up the legs like that. So inhale, the legs come up. Imagine you just gathered something up above the heart space and then just drop it. Inhale up. Exhale, lower down. Take another 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Beautiful. Drop the feet down. Grab on to sit up. We're taking a twist to the front door side. Pull bunch up your fabric to that direction. Your shoulder that's open to that painted mountain side, open that arm. Maybe even take that hand behind the back of the head if you like that type of twist instead. This gives you a chance to really just spiral the spine open. More breaths right here. Good, we're taking the twist to the other side. So bunch up the fabric. Again, it's the arm to the mountains on that back wall. That's the side that's opening and or circling around the back side of the head. Let the spine have that good chance to wake up. Taking a huge inhale. A nice exhale. Release forward. Just a little bit of waking up for our legs. Take the right knee inside. Hands try to clasp around right ball of foot. With that clasp, lean back just a hair to counterbalance the weight of the leg as we try to straighten the right leg up as much as it'll go to the sky. Another huge inhale. And exhale, release that right leg down. Same thing left. Step it up, grab onto the ball of the foot, reach it up high. Breath in. Nice exhale. And releasing this one down. So again, go ahead and watch this first so you have it in your mind. Here is going to be one of our vampire pose variations. Now, if the vampire is completely new, that the last one we did was the very first time you've ever done it, you don't have to do this variation. You're welcome just to go up to vampire again and just stay there. So nothing wrong with that. Keep on working on the strength it takes to get there. If you're doing this variation, the same approach, fabric to cover shoulders. The only difference is I do need my excess fabric to be like a little blanket covering my shins. So from there, I would come upside down, same steps. And then I try to balance with my toes touching each other rather than the fabric. I try to balance as the hips go back, my feet come forward. There's a point where they can't go any further. So at that point, I would try to flatten out and then reverse that all the way back up. So hips back, feet hiking up. Try to do that a couple of times, working through the core. Flattening out, coming back. Again, no pressure if you're like, I'd rather just work on the normal vampire for a little while. So nothing wrong with that. But same steps, get just enough to do one good thin covering like a cap sleeve. All the excess comes down to the waist and then the feet. The hands grip up high left and right. The covering over the feet is what's going to hold us in as we start that slow pike down. So then just, yep, you'll have to play with your balance. The balance is the first aspect, but there's nowhere unsafe that you'll go. You'll either kind of roll in or get your toes to touch. It's a good core awareness though. If you can get to the point where you can do the slow pike the whole way, that's when you can tell your core is really getting some good improvement. Good. And it's really up to you and at your body again to listen to how many reps your body wants you to take today. And eventually you take a rest, but no pressure. You're doing awesome. I know if this is your first time, it's a nervous thing for sure. But just take a couple and then you're welcome to head out again. We're all getting stronger no matter where you're at. Even if you're working on the first step to get into vampire, that's beautiful. That's a huge step to work on the core. I love the hammock because it'll help us no matter where we're at. So I call it pike rollover. Pike rollover. Good. So we've got about half the class out. If you're still doing it, maybe take 1 or 2 more complete scrolls. And then we'll eventually take our way to the seated floating child. Again, when you get there, think of whatever word you're choosing to be your inspiration for release at this moment. So in this floating child, let's take 3 more breaths. Inhale, 1 more cycle. Feel how even that exhale is a release. Good. So as we're ready to sit back up here, we're gonna head out of the fabric, bunch up the fabric. Let's try to lift the hips right up and out. Sometimes it takes some momentum. Good. Okay. So getting to a really good shoulder opener, what we're gonna do is hook our elbows, walk forward, and then let the heart start to go forward as we arch back. Yeah, you're right there. It is a little close. Yeah, just like that. Take 1 more inhale. Exhale, come back. Walk back under plumb line, which means under those metal pieces. Lower down to kneeling. And then similarly, we're gonna hook our elbows and then come forward like a little plank. Sometimes the skin on the fabric is the tightest spot, so if that's a little intense, take a little bit more weight over your knees. Huge inhale. Exhale, let's start to free out the arms. We're taking it to a child pose. As the forehead rests to the ground, that's the easiest moment for me to think of literally my brain draining out and releasing that concept that we chose today to be our release. Take a couple of breaths there, just enjoying it. And a good inhale. Exhale. As the spine rises up, we should be just a little bit behind the fabric. If it's comfortable to sit on the feet, take that seat. Otherwise, you can come up high to be more gentle on the knees. Let's do a few harvest breaths. So inhale, we circle our arms up to sky. Exhale, hands join together. As we bring it to the heart, that's what we're harvesting. So repeat whatever word you're choosing for harvest. Another 4. 3, inhale. Exhale down to heart. 2. Last one, even slower. 4. So grabbing a hand on, I like to grip about as wide as my shoulders. You're gonna use that grip to slowly lower you back, but then lift your hips up. So it's a quad stretch and a heart open. Good. From here, engage your arm strength to lift you through camel, and then all the way up to kneeling. Keep the hips over the knees, puppy pose. Send the arms forward, arch the heart down. Puppy pose back to child pose. So I can sit back, exaggerate the rounding of the spine up. That'll just feel nice after those hard openers. Good, so we're repeating slowly a few rounds like that. Go all the way until your head arches back. Lift the hips up. Arm strength to pull us up to the middle. And then puppy pose. And then child. Let's take another 3. All the way back, extended fish. Do camel. To puppy. And child. 2. Your own pace for the last one. As we finish, keep your left foot tucked back. Your right leg extends forward and you'll kind of rock onto that hip. So this grip left and right helps us again to lower back. This one is an amount that our quad, that left quad can handle. So some of us will be all the way back. Some of us might even release, just kind of barely pulling on the fabric so we have that handle. Take 2 more breaths. And then grab on to help us lift us up. Place the hands into prayer position, a little break for the fingers as we lean forward over straight right leg. Good. Sitting up, switch the legs out. So left goes forward, right tucks back. You there, use the grip to help lean us back. Either stay with gripping or you can kind of drop a shoulder down. Inhale. Exhale, grip helps us rise. Our position, hands inside. Slide forward. Think of this being a moment kind of like child, just releasing forward. So repeat whatever it is that we're hoping to release at this stage of our life. Good inhale. Exhale. Get both feet out in front of us. Grip a bit higher, left and right. That grip is going to help us come up to stand. So keeping the feet planted. We start to do some pull-ups. So bring yourself up and down, up and down. You're choosing how many reps to take based on what your arms are telling you at this point and also your grip. When you feel ready to be all the way up, just walk yourself back. Amazing. So stepping right up to the fabric. Bring the fabric up to the hip bones. We don't want it into the guts. That becomes much more uncomfortable. So right across hip bones, we're taking a downward facing dog. I like to take a step forward so that I can take all the slack out of my fabric. And then I bend at my waist and drop the hands down because it's like a forward fold. From here, it takes 3 good steps backwards to bring our hips back under plumb line. This is our downward facing dog. This is a perfectly fine stopping spot if you're nervous at all. If you'd like to go with me to standing split, your right leg kicks wide for a moment. That reminds you to catch the outside, not the inside of the fabric. So wind your right foot around the outside. If you don't catch it, you can lift the other foot for a moment to tilt and then wrap it and then set it back down. Keep on playing with it. If you're here, you're welcome to straighten that right leg up, creating a standing split, maybe even hopping the left foot forward. Good inhale. Exhale. If left foot slid forward, start to release. Right foot gently drops down. And then we'll switch. Left leg wraps around. Maybe start to straighten up. Yeah, you can always take little breaks and come back in. Maybe right foot hops more forward. Good. Releasing left down. If you still want to be upside down, take a hip hang. The knees stay down, but we hug around the shins. A moment like a child pose, a moment of release. Again, since this is an inversion, different people can tolerate that more than others. So when you're ready to come up, just lay back into the fabric sooner or later. Know that if it's kind of an early time for you in aerial, know that in general, massages that we get better over time. That deep massage into the hip crease. Also know that the tolerance for inversion gets better over time. So just reasons to keep coming back, keep getting stronger. Lots to work on. Those that have been up for a little while, there's kind of a fun thing I'll do sometimes. I'll step my feet about as wide as the mat. And then leaning back like a stargazer, I'll bend my right knee, and then I'll sway my elbows to the right. Straightening that right leg, I'll do the same to the left. So huge chance to stretch my body out left and right. You're still upside down, take your last breath or two and start heading out. Good. And then walk back to stand up on your own before we're completely free. Let's take our harvest breath, huge inhale. Exhale down to the heart. Another 4. Only kind of goes down to the throat area, that's okay. Bring it to that area. 3. 2. And 1. Beautiful. Flip the fabric to be out in front of you. Stepping right up to it, when we gaze up, our head is like 3 inches behind plumb line, so not far back at all. Take your right thigh, step your right thigh into the fabric. So the first thing we're going to do here is a nice warrior one. Take our flat hands high, just thumbs hug around. This still gives our hands a little break. Start to sink your weight forward. If you feel yourself going off to a weird angle, what you can change is where your standing foot is to your mat. Scooting it slightly to the left or slightly to the right. If balance is here steady enough that you could release hands, let's do another 3 harvest breaths. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, hands to the heart. 2. 1. Good. And then taking a little twist, our left wrist will hook on the outside of that right thigh. I like to even bring that left shoulder inside to lean into that. My right hand will slide up that right side of fabric. I can press into it to twist. So that spine, get that nice opener. Still sinking forward if we're okay there. Nice inhale. Exhale. Unwind from the twist. Take your weight back over standing leg. Slip the fabric to ankle. So 2 options here. Either slide the hands down, leaning forward, very much like that release stage. Or if you're doing splits today, slide the hands up. Even though the grip is higher, still think of the idea of the release as we're bringing torso a bit closer to the thigh. I like to have the grip higher just because if my balance suddenly goes, higher grip is much safer to recover off of. Good. Keep on opening those muscles. Couple more breaths. Beautiful. Weight comes back over standing leg. We're gonna switch to the other leg. You have 2 options. Either just step this leg out, step the other one in, or the swinging switch, keep the leg that's in the fabric locked straight, and then just step the other leg in, the first leg out. Good. Slip it down to thigh. Make sure you didn't end up too far behind, so we're still just inches behind plumb line. Flat hands high, thumbs hug around. Let's take our warrior one. Sink the weight directly forward. If the fabric is massaging a little too intense, you can always spread out the surface area here. And if balance is good enough, just stable enough to do 5 of those harvest breaths, let's free out the arms. Inhale up. Exhale to heart. 4. 3. 2. Well, that leg strength you're getting by staying. 1. Good. And we'll start setting up the twist. So right wrist hooks to that left thigh. I like to bring the right shoulder inside to lean against it. And left hand slides up the left side. You can even push into it to spiral the spine a little bit more. Another huge inhale. A nice exhale. Unwind from the twist. Take your weight back over standing legs. Slip down to the ankle. This is that option. Either slide hands down to bring heart close to thigh, or if you're doing splits, it's a grip up high. Either way, though, think of the concept that you're releasing again. Two more breaths. Good, weight back over standing leg. Let's do another switch, even just for practice for the swinging switch, those that it's new. Good. And this time, with that right ankle in, we're gonna turn over our left shoulder to face all the way to the back wall. The ankle still stays caught. Good. Once we're here, we're gonna do a little hamstring stretch. So drop the hands to the floor, straighten both legs, and then walk your hands back. So I like to even walk my hands past where the foot is. It's like a huge tripod that actually does feel safe once you're in it. Good. And walk the hands to the other end of the mat. Drop that left knee down for pigeon pose. We'll swivel out to the right. Sink your weight back, let our hips release. A good breath in and out. We're gonna try to take a little bit of an elbow plank to switch our legs. So elbows push into the ground. Try to stick your left foot into the fabric, holding in a plank if you can for 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right knee drops out to pigeon, so the hips relax back. Call your word of release to your mind. One more good breath in and out. You've got that last splits to try to play with, so come up to hands. Allow that right foot to hop until the foot's on the ground. Once you're there, try to straighten both legs, walk the hands backwards into the splits. Amazing. And to free your leg out, walk the hands forward, almost like a half down dog, so you can just kind of shake your foot out of the fabric. And just slowly roll your spine up. Once you're up, let's take 3 of those harvest breaths. Circle arms up to sky and hands to heart. 2. And 1. Good. So we have one last vampire variation we can play with. This one we're gonna try to come in from kind of a funky thing. Not everybody's gonna succeed, so don't feel bad if you don't. You are actually coming in from your back end. So that side that's closer to the mountain wall. So come into that side. You're turning to face that mountain side, and you're grabbing the fabric as the placement that it was for vampire. So you're taking the very bottom part of it, covering neck and shoulders, and then you kind of have to play with getting enough slack that as you walk your feet backwards and you lean forward, you end up with the fabric completely cupping the shoulder neck area, just like it was for vampire. When you have that safely cupped and you've got that pressure against it, you'll reach up left and right and grab each kind of pull of the fabric. So keep on walking back until you're under plumb line. And this is an idea you kind of understand mentally, usually before you do physics, but you kind of bounce yourself until you can get your hips up over your shoulders and you just kind of roll into the fabric like a vampire. I'm not gonna be able to do it today, but you're welcome to try a couple of rounds. If you don't succeed, just come up to the top end and you're gonna sit inside. So nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of a fun way to play with it a couple of times. So yep, you're gripping left and right. Yep, you want your fabric to be on your shoulders. Yep, that part, yep. Extend. Go ahead, yep, go ahead and extend up or roll. Keep it covering shoulders. Yep, grab. So keep it hard enough that it stays as you go. Yep. Almost, we're getting closer. If you don't succeed, don't stress. We've got many other times you can try it. If you're coming in from the other side, you're gonna switch halves. You're now to the mirror side. You wave it out, take a couple extra this time, maybe 7 grips before you hit it. Yeah. Okay, whether you got into that one or not, we're gonna take one last little splits from Vampire. So whether you're literally sitting inside or you did it all the way up, we're taking the same steps to get to this one. So fabric covers shoulders, we lay back, all the excess is brought down. We're gonna cover up our right foot, but leave the left foot free this time. So the same grip up high, left and right. Same steps to rise. So the closed foot, that right foot, is gonna drop down to the space in front of your chest first. If you don't have that right foot wrapped, you need to roll out, wrap your foot, and then come back in. So get your shoulders covered. Once the right foot is in front of your chest, then your left foot is safe to drop all the way to the floor. From there, you can split, sink your weight back. Good, so right foot down first, the one that's covered, and then left foot to floor. If it's like your first day, don't stress about it, you're doing good. When you're ready to switch sides, so some just barely got here, you're gonna stay for another 5 or 6 breaths. Those that have been here for a little while, you're welcome to switch. Step your left foot into the little pocket, right foot to floor, sink back. Your goal is eventually between right and left side to stay about the equal amount of time each. So you've been about there equal. If you want a little bit more inversion time, you can go upside down. You're about at that resting point. And if you always know you have the option to go to Shavasana on the floor, if like at this point you're like, I just need to lay on the ground. There's nothing wrong with that, but when you eventually get to that Shavasana state, take enough fabric behind your head so your head can be in. I'll give you a nice restorative option. Those that want it today, that option is once the head is in, get your feet up, spread the legs left and right, and then you're gonna take all that excess fabric, and once you've got it set, take that fabric, hook it around the back side of the head, and then you can just leave the legs resting to that left and right side, so it's like legs up the wall. Want it, take it. If not, leave it. Once you've got it, yep, pulled it through, hooked it around your head through the center, grab that fabric, around your head. Then you can just relax the legs back into it. No effort from the muscles at all. Oh, yeah. Let's just relax. Several minutes here just to relax. Think of your inhales and exhales being like that ginormous focus back to our idea. The inhale's like the harvest. The exhale's back to that idea of release. Let each and every breath just flow deep and full. We're here for several minutes, just allowing our body time to release and relax. We're going to start to deepen our inhales. Deepen our exhales. Introduce little movements back to the body. Sometimes it's nice here to allow the head to free out, stretch the arms to the back wall, let the shoulders go right and left a few times. Sometimes I will take a nice fetal position. So if you're doing that in the fabric, you keep the body long, but you roll over onto one of your sides. So one hip is stacked on top of the other hip. And from that position, it's easy to curl in like a tight little ball, fetal, and then arc the spine all the way back. So think of that cat-cow, just kind of huge exaggeration through the spine. You're doing that fetal position, usually I'll go for 3 or 4 to one side. then eventually I'll switch, taking 3 or 4 to the other side, just helping to wake everything up. You're still balancing the body out, that's fine. When you've reached that point of waking up your body, everything's feeling good and aligned. Eventually we'll come up to a comfortable seated place. Take a huge harvest breath, circling arms up to sky, and then gathering it together in front of the heart. Thinking of those 2 concepts, harvest and also release. We recognize as we start to see this coming up in nature the next week or 2, we can use those times seeing that in nature to remind us of the words that we chose today to harvest, to release in our life. So with these concepts to help lead us on, let's wrap up the time we shared together with the sound of Om. Take a deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.